Welcome to Executive Spotlight. I'm Maddie Weiner, and on the podcast today, I'm joined by Cindy Allen, CEO of StoneEagle. Cindy, thanks for being on the podcast today.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So, Cindy, tell us a little bit about yourself and the career path that led you to where you are today with StoneEagle.
Well, I actually started with StoneEagle, answering the phone many, many years ago. Let's not talk about the date, though. So, but started there, had the opportunity based on a challenge from my brother-in-law. StoneEagle is a family-owned business, or it was for many years. Now we're PE-owned, but I was given a challenge to stop being bored and reading books and filing my nails at the front desk to figure out how to connect all of our systems to the internet, which was a new thing at that time. Again, way before your time, I know, but it was very new, and that was an amazing opportunity. I actually eventually got to spend time inside dealerships, and actually part of my role at that point as we developed these solutions, when I walked into dealerships, they didn't even know how to get on the internet. So I was teaching them how to install something in order to use their dial-up modem to connect to the internet. But during that time, we had a lot of exposure to many of the challenges that dealers faced and kind of understanding and looking at the way that their dealerships were performing.
Right.
And I would watch people come in and pick up giant stacks of green bar paper, take it away. 30 to 60, 90 days later, they would come back after some poor intern, put all that data into Excel they could have bar charts and pie charts and fun things that would help the dealers understand what products were profitable, what people were doing a great job, the things that were great for their customers, et cetera. But we just watched that happening, and I was thinking, God, there's got to be a better way.
Right.
And so we started our process of creating integrated data points and or integration to dealers to pull data points and give that back to them so they had insights into their business on a real-time basis instead of, what we called at that point autopsy reporting. But so I've been in the family business for a long time. I did take about a 10-year break and spent some time in the travel technology industry.
Okay.
And that was a lot of fun. I learned a ton in all the different, opportunities I've had across the years, but
for sure.
Love automotive. And so in 2017, my husband and I both got re-involved in the family business with our amazing StoneEagle family. And it's just growing like crazy. So
very cool.
That's the snippet. That's the short version.
I'm sure. Yeah. Well, I know we have a lot to get into around, the data you guys collect. And I'm just curious, you mentioned integrations with dealerships. How many dealerships do you guys work with?
Today, we integrate directly to about 8,600 dealerships, but part of our business is also providing large enterprise platforms for F&I product providers to run their businesses on. And so we have dealer portals as well that support a little over 15,000 dealers through the portals on behalf of our F&I product provider partners. And then we integrate directly to about 8,600. So it's a wonderful, pretty broad swath of the industry, and we have great partnerships. So we love it.
That's awesome. No, that's great to hear. So talking about F&I revenue, is it growing or shrinking right now?
Definitely growing.
Okay.
So if you look at, a larger group of data starting, kind of pre-COVID, we had kind of a norm that was, you could consider like down here. Yeah. And COVID happened and we had a big stoppage, and then we had a huge rebound of, I call it pent-up demand for people to come back in and buy vehicles. During that same peak, we had a ton of just, explosive growth on the F&I product side as well. And so now we had in 2022 kind of like a normalizing year. Everything kind of came back to what is, I think, new normal, which is still significantly more than, kind of what we had in 2019 pre-COVID. So the new norm, I think, is being established. So far this year in 2023, we have just month over month continued to grow in F&I revenue. And the dealers are generally doing pretty good.
That's great. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And yeah, COVID, that whole, 1.5, 2 year period was just so unprecedented.
It really was.
But it's great to hear that there's recovery happening. And I think that's kind of across the board with different industries as well. So great for our audience, that's for sure. Now, Cindy, you hold the keys to the castle of data. I know we were talking a little bit before this podcast about how you love digging into the data. You see the daily statistics across thousands of dealerships. So what trends are you seeing for the traditional bread and butter products like vehicle service contracts and gap compared to other offerings like keys, dents, tires, and other services?
It's one of the things that when we say growth, typically you might see some things growing and some things shrinking. But what we see right now is pretty much everything is trending a little bit up. So you could think about penetrations are a little slower than top line revenue. If you think about penetrations into the deals themselves versus how much they're charging for the products, that is slipping up a little bit faster than the penetrations, but still great growth on the traditional products like VSC and Gap.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting is if you looked at the whole pie, if you kind of looked at the share between those two, VSC and Gap, and then kind of all the other products that you were mentioning.
Right.
The other products are growing so fast that if you were just looking at penetrations themselves and even in the revenue side, you have this kind of, especially on penetrations, this creeping of, for the first time really since we've been tracking data, VSCs represent just slightly less than half of all the F&I, products that are sold out there, which I think is pretty significant because that's been the bread and butter for so long. But we see just great growth in the aftermarket side and all the type of products that you were just mentioning, they're growing. I think part of it is there's two sides of that coin. I think part of it is just getting more creative in what they can bring to the table for customers, our F&I product providers themselves, coming up with some really great things, some really great bundles of things that kind of bridge between VSCs and aftermarkets that kind of come together in packages.
Right.
But we're also seeing just kind of general growth because they're getting creative around electric vehicles too. So you see this kind of this new emphasis on things that are not just VSCs. Although VSCs are still very strong with the EVs, they're just kind of getting more creative. And so that's been a really interesting thing to get to track in the data.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you were mentioning EVs. Every conversation I have, EVs are involved. They're the hot topic in the automotive industry today, right? So how have and will EVs affect F&I revenue?
So, they represent, so if we look at the just franchise dealers, they represent under 2% of all the vehicles sold. So if you think about their ability to really impact the big picture, it's it's small. However, if you just look at them, just compare ICE penetrations on products to EV penetrations in products, they're doing really good. So we started a couple of years ago where we had a pretty big gap. They were selling just over 50% the number of things that sold on our ICE vehicles. Now they've closed the gap significantly. So you have just a little bit of variance between the sort of number of products that are sold on an electric vehicle versus the number of products sold on an ICE vehicle. However, when it comes to the product revenue itself, we're actually seeing that actually kind of almost even with what we're seeing in the ICE vehicles. And I think part of it is just the basic, if you think about gap, it's based on the price of the vehicle. EVs generally run at a higher per copy rate than ICE vehicles. So you get a little bit of skew there, but generally we saw that gap close. And then toward the end of the fourth quarter, it basically evened up with what we see in ICE vehicles. And it's just kind of been bobbling right along at about the same level since then. So I think it's less about impacting the big picture and more about joining the big picture, if you will, and kind of coming alongside. And again, I think our product providers are getting really good at figuring out client need, consumer need when it comes to products to protect their vehicles.
Right.
And our, F&I professionals have really gotten good at helping consumers understand the value not only for an ICE vehicle, but now also for the EVs. So
for sure,
it's going really well, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely curious to follow up with you on that, maybe in the next couple months or a year or whatever, because I know, EVs will just continue to become more a part of the car park, and I'm sure that data will change and we'll see some fluctuations. So that's very interesting. Very cool. Okay. Now, Cindy, I wanted to talk with you about some sort of recent news from StoneEagle. You all acquired a company called Pencil Wrench. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, happy to. StoneEagle is a very people, culture-oriented, integrity-driven company. So we're very values-based. And so when we were acquired by Battery Ventures, they're an amazing partner for us. Part of our strategy was to look at ways that we could get to our end goal faster through acquisition. And part of that end goal is just we always say our purpose is making lives better across the board, all the way from the consumer through all the different roles in the dealership, through our agency and TPA partners, all the way to our own employees.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, thinking about kind of closing the circle around making that experience better, one of the areas where there's lots of pain points is the experience in the service drive. And a lot of it can be around just things being slow. And Pencil Wrench brings this amazing value in that it allows both service writers and technicians to do what they have to do in a faster way, but still be really compliant with what our OEMs need when they're going to submit, as an example, a claim around a manufacturer's warranty item. And so the tool itself is great for the consumer in that respect. It's great for the technician. Many of our technicians today, English is their second language. And when it comes to trying to be really specific and technically accurate, when they're writing up details for the consumer to understand, for the OEM to sort of be able to ingest into their systems, there's just a lot of detail there. And so Pencil Wrench actually acts like this amazing content builder based on the expertise that the technician is entering into the system. It pulls up the really critical data points in a way that is clear, complete, and concise, both for the OEM and for the consumer. And then your service writer, their job of kind of going through it and cleaning up the RO, and getting it ready to go, is much more efficient as well. So it makes it way better for them in the service drive, way better for the consumer. So we're really excited about it. The culture fit between our organizations has been amazing. The founders and the team at Pencil Wrench is just fantastic. And so we're really excited to get the chance to work with them closer as it is today. When we look to the future, I mentioned that one of our major segments of business is our partnerships with the service contract side of the business. So outside of OEM, those extended service contracts. And if you think about the type of challenges they run into, they're very similar to what you run into when you're submitting a manufacturer repair order.
Yeah.
And so if we think about expanding our ability to impact not just manufacturers, but also those extended vehicle service contracts, we're super excited about that because, again, in that segment of our business, our clients support over 15,000 dealers. So if you think about the ability to impact the industry, Pencil Wrench is going to be a vehicle to bring that great solution as it is today to our current clientele, and then to expand it to work not only for that manufacturer side, but also for the extended service contract side. So we're very excited about it.
Yeah. No, that's an exciting expansion of your guys' business as well.
It is, indeed.
Yeah, well, we'll look forward to hearing more on that too. So that's great.
Stay tuned.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited. Well, Cindy, you speak with so much passion about what you do, and it's so inspiring. And I do want to know, is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience today, either about the Pencil Wrench acquisition or StoneEagle and any trends you're seeing in the market?
When we think about trends in the market, I just think growth. There's so much going on right now. And when I think about growth, I also think about growing pains. And so what we've been able to do as an organization through our over 35 years is actually bring technology to kind of help round out the growing pains and let the people do what people do best, and let technology kind of step in and sort of automate some of the great things that people have figured out, but no longer have to do because tech can do that. And so as we just look to expand more and more in that arena, we just are trying to make sure that everybody knows what we already do. And so we're excited to see this expansion with Pencil Wrench happen, because it gives us a chance to kind of take that layer of technology into a new arena in the industry. So we're excited about that.
For sure.
That's a little tidbit. I could go on for a long time, but I don't think we have that much time.
No, but thank you. We'll have to have you back. That's for sure. Well, Cindy, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. We so appreciate your time.
Great to be here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching Executive Spotlight from AutoSuccess. To find more episodes of this podcast, go to autosuccess.com.